Okay, well, you did such a nice job putting these lines in your paper here that we are all ready for the next step, which is putting the lines into your papers so that eventually it will look like this. Okay, these are the next steps when we're trying to make our final compass rose, which looks a little bit like this. And you can color it however you want, but the most important part is to get the lines on here straight. So when I'm done making my lines on here, I should have something that looks a lot like this. And I'll let you just kind of, I have it upside down. I'll let you just look at it for a second or two and see if you can recognize some of those fold lines. Do you recognize some of those fold lines that you did? They become really important as we're making this. So let's start where we left off, which was a nice folded paper with 8 lines around here, and then we folded the corners down to the points. So yours should look like this, with your name on the back. Okay, so the next step that we have to do is we have to go get 2 things. The first thing we have to get is some kind of ruler, mostly because we need a really tough, hard edge. So your teacher should have a bucket of rulers somewhere for you, or you should have one at your table spot. The next thing that you have to have is, of course, your trusty pencil. So what we're going to do in order to make these lines right here is we're going to end up making the cardinal directions all the way to the top and the intercardinal directions only coming halfway, because those, like on our finished product, have cardinal directions going all the way to the top and intercardinal directions only going halfway. So the way that we start this is you grab your ruler and you figure out where the top of your paper is. Do you remember how I told you that this was the top and this was the bottom? Well, that's still true. So the top way up here and the bottom way down here have a little bitty point right there. Do you see that little point? Let me see if you can see it there. It's kind of in the middle right there. That's going to be the very top. And then down at the bottom, it's the same thing. It's right in the very middle, right down here, kind of where my fold line is. And if I look closely, I have a straight line that runs all the way down from the top all the way down the middle to the very bottom. That is a really important line, and that's the line I have to find. So I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to slide it over until I get to that line. To help me find that line, I'm going to just tip my paper up until I can find that fold line I made and slide my ruler right over to that fold line and stop. I can't go any further. Now, I'm going to push down hard on my ruler to protect and keep it from sliding around. I really want to make sure it doesn't wibble wobble on me, and if it does wibble wobble, I need to lift this side of my paper up, re-find that middle line, and then push down hard. I'm pushing really hard with this hand, so then I can take my writing hand and I can just drag my pencil right along that edge. Okay. Now I have my first line drawn. That line is going to become my north-south line that goes all the way down. Now I'm going to do the same thing going from east over here to west. So I'm going to put my ruler on the bottom half of my paper. I'm going to tip up the top half. See how you can see my line really clearly? I'm going to push my ruler right up there till it doesn't go anymore. Then I'm going to push down really hard with my hand and drag my pencil across, not letting it wibble wobble around. If it does wibble wobble around, lift your paper up, push into it until it can't go anymore, push down hard, really hard. You might even want to stand up and push down from up above and then draw my line. Now I have my east-west line. Okay? Those are the 2 lines that go all the way from top to bottom and from side to side. The next thing I'm going to do is these are my cardinal directions, so I have north, east, south, and west. Now I'm ready to make my intercardinal lines. And to help me do that, I need to make a few dots. If you look at your paper, do you see here where you have these little folds here? And do you see there's a fold line that comes down the middle right here? Well, this little spot where the fold meets this fold kind of makes a little X right here. I'm going to put a dot. You are too. So put a little dot right there. And then find it on this part too. If I lift this side up here and I look, don't I see kind of an X in the middle? Well, that X in the middle, right in the very center, give it a dot. Remember, if I'm going too fast, pause, do what I've shown you, and then hit play again. Then I'm going to do it for this corner. I'm going to find where that X is. There's the X. I can see it with my fold. I'm going to put a little dot in the very center. And then I'm going to do it again right here. See that little X? The very center gets a dot. Okay, now I should have 4 dots around the edges. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's where you take your ruler. And you're going to connect this dot to that dot. And if you look close, do you see it's right on that fold line? See how that both dots are right on that fold line? So I'm just going to tip up my paper. I'm going to push my ruler into that fold. See how it can't go anymore? Now, when I push my ruler down, I'm going to draw my line from this dot over to this dot and stop. I'm not going to go all the way to the edge, just from dot to dot and stop. So pushing it in, can't go anymore. Push down hard. You can stand up if it helps. And I'm going to start at this dot, and I'm going to drag across to this dot and stop. See how that looks? I just went from dot to dot. Hit pause if you need to, and then come back. All right, now I'm ready for this dot to this dot. So I'm going to take my ruler, bring it over here. I'm going to tip this side of my paper up. And I'm going to just slide my ruler into the folded section until it can't go anymore. See how it can't go anymore? Then I'm going to push down hard with my hand, and I'm going to draw from dot to dot. There I go. Okay, so now I've drawn my intercardinal directions. So this is where you're going to start labeling the intercardinal directions. And if I go too fast, just hit pause. The one at the very top of my paper is going to be called north. So right next to it, I want you to put a capital N. This cardinal direction over here is, you got it, east. So I'm going to put a big capital E. The one at the bottom of my paper closest to me gets letter, what is it? S. Very good, for south. And then over here on the left, so if this is never eat soggy, this must be waffles. All right, so I'm going to give it a capital W. So now I'm ready for my intercardinal directions. The direction in between north and east is, you got it, northeast. And I'm going to put a lowercase n and a lowercase e, just to kind of show that they're not quite as important as the cardinal directions. Now I'm ready for the one that falls in between south and east. It's, you got it, southeast. Try to put your words where I'm putting mine. All right, now I'm ready for the one that's in between south and west. Southwest. And my last one in between north and west is northwest. Pause the video if you need to copy these down, and then hit play again. Okay, so now mine that I made matches the one that I showed you at the beginning. Now we're ready for the next direction, which is we get to add some cool designs to ours. So the way that we do this is I have brought out, and I have for you, some circles. You may have seen these around. I've got a small circle that is about 2 1/4 inches, and I have a big circle that is about 3 1/2 inches. So these two circles can be used if you want to use them. If you don't want to use them, then you can skip this next part of the video because you don't have to use them, but they are fun to use. So today I'm going to use both circles to show you how to use both. If you don't want to use both and you just want to use one, once I show you the one that you want to use, you just can skip ahead and not use the other one. Okay, these circles that I have made for you have a hole in the center. Look at that. Do you see how there's a hole that goes all the way through in the center? That's because your pencil has to fit through the hole. Now, I'm not going to push hard. I don't want to rip the hole in the circle. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up my pencil tip right here, see that thing, with this dot that's in the very center of my circle. So I'm going to put it right on top and line it up really carefully. Okay, it's right on top. So now I'm going to push down with my hand and I'm going to lift my pencil out of there. I have it lined up perfectly. Now I'm going to take my pencil and just trace. I'm pushing down hard while I trace so my circle doesn't wibble wobble around. I may have to move my fingers around a little bit, and that's okay, but I'm pushing hard and I'm not letting it wobble around. I'm pushing really hard. If yours does wobble around, just pick it up again, put your pencil through it again, and reline up and find the hole again. The biggest important part is to push down hard. Push down hard so that it doesn't wibble and wobble. That's not good. We don't want that. All right, if the big one is the only one you want, then don't watch this next part. But if you are wanting both circles, then you're going to grab the smaller one, put your pencil through just like I did before. See that? And I'm going to line it up on that dot. I may have to lift up the circle a little bit to look underneath it as I lay it down, and that's okay. Here I go, lining it up the best that I can, right like that. Okay, I've lined it up the best I can, so I'm going to push down hard now, not let it wobble around on me, and I'm going to start tracing again. I'm pushing really hard with this hand so it doesn't move. If you need more time for this, just pause the video and start it back up again when you're done. See how I'm moving my hand around? And that way, when I lift it up, ta-da, both circles are laying on top. All right. Now, if you skipped ahead because you didn't want both circles or you only wanted one, now's the time to start watching again. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is, this is where I have to start making some dots. When I go to make my dots, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put dots on my circle where my lines meet, okay? So in order for me to do this, I'm going to start right here with this northwest dot. And do you see that on my north line here, it comes down and it meets this small circle with my north line right at that dot right there? Do you see that? That's where I'm going to put a dot. So I want you to put a dot, not the outside circle, but the inside circle. You're going to put a dot right here where my north line, see how it says north at the top? This north line comes down and meets this small circle. Put a dot right there. That's going to be an important dot. Then I'm going to do the exact same thing for this spot over here. Do you see my west line right here? It's going to meet my small circle right here. So west line, just drag it in, not at the big circle, go to the small circle and put a dot right there where the west line meets the small circle. Then I'm going to do the same thing where I'm going to take my south line and I'm going to come up and I'm going to stop right where my south line meets the small circle, right there. And my last one, I'm going to take my east line and drag it over to meet my small circle on my east line and put a dot right there. Pause the video if you need to make these dots. Okay, now I'm ready to draw those lines. And the way it'll work is I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to line up this dot where I have northwest, and I'm going to line up this dot that I made over here and draw a line. So I have to carefully find this dot and that dot and line them up. So if I do this right, do you see how I've lined up this dot with that dot? Lay it down flat, press hard, and just draw a line from dot to dot, and you're done. Do you see how I did that? The next thing I'm going to do is find this dot and stop at this dot right here. Northwest to my dot that I made on the west line. So I'm going to line them up, find the two dots. Here's a dot here, here's a dot here. I got to move my ruler so they line up perfectly. Do you see my dots here and here? Then I'm going to press down hard and I'm going to draw a line. Okay, all of a sudden, look at that. I've got my intercardinal arrow for northwest. Let's do the same thing for southwest, southeast, and northeast. Here we go. Find your dot on southwest right here. Find your dot on your west line and draw a line between those two dots. Push down hard on your ruler. If at any point I'm going too fast, just pause the video and get caught up. Here's southwest to my dot on south right here. Southwest to my south dot. Line up your dots and press hard, draw your line. Now I have two done. Now I'm ready for the next one. South dot to southeast. Okay, here I go again. Southeast up here to this dot at E, right there. Line up my dots. Here's one here. See how I can twist my ruler so it lines up perfectly with the dot? Press down hard. I'm really pushing hard with this hand, and I'm drawing my line. My last one, I'm going to find my northeast dot, and you see I have a dot here and a dot here. I'm going to line those up next. Northeast to dot here. Here we go. Here's northeast. Here's my dot on north. Push down hard, draw my line. Northeast dot here. Come down to my east dot here. Line them up perfectly so I can see both dots. Please make sure you can see the dots with your eyes. And then draw your line. Okay, now I've got my intercardinal directions. Awesome. The last step is to make our cardinal directions. And if I look back at the one that I've already finished, all I'm going to do is make these lines here. And I have to make a few more dots. So, once you have this part done, I want you to do some finding for me. What you have to do next is you have to find the spot where your intercardinal direction meets your big circle. So we're done with the little circle. Say, big circle. And I'm going to take this dot and travel down this line until I get to my big circle. Do you see my big circle right here, this line? This is where I give my dot. So I'm going to put a dot here. And I'm going to just keep traveling around my big circle until I get to my next intercardinal line, which is this one right here. So I'm going to put another dot right here. And now I'm going to just keep traveling. Travel through your intercardinal till I get over here. Do you see how my edge, so I'm on my big circle, and I'm traveling to where my intercardinal direction meets the big circle. This gets a dot. Keep traveling around. This gets the next dot. Keep traveling through your intercardinal direction till the outside of it, and that outside edge gets a dot. Keep traveling around. Here's your next intercardinal direction. Travel through the intercardinal direction. When you get to the outside, give it a dot. Keep traveling around, and here's my last intercardinal direction. So let's see how many dots I made. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Pause here if you need to. Okay, home stretch, we're almost done. Last thing I have to do is I have to connect my cardinal direction to the dots that I just made. So I'm going to connect my cardinal directions to the dots that I just made to make these nice long tips. So here I go. I'm starting up here at the very top where it says N. I'm going all the way to the edge of the paper. If you want to put a dot here on the very edge to help your brain, then put a little dot on the very edge just like that. You can do that for all of your cardinal directions. So here I go. North is going to connect to these dots here and this dot here. So here I go. Here's the first one. I'm going to line my ruler up so it's touching north and touching my first dot right here, and I'm going to draw a line. Then I'm going to come and connect this dot to this dot here. Make sure you can see both dots. There I go. Okay, and look at that. North is done. So now I'm going to do the same thing for east to connect to this dot and this dot from this dot. And then down here at south, I'm going to connect south to this dot and this dot. And then from west, I'm going to connect west to this dot and this dot. If I go too fast, just pause the video. If it wibbles or wobbles on you, just line it up again. Press down really hard and draw that line again. Here's my last one. Ta-da! You did it! You've got a beautiful compass rose. Now there's some cool tricks to getting it to really pop with some color, but I'll show you that in a minute. Okay,